Hey everybody, how we doing? It's me, it's Lechusza, the managing editor at the Indigenous Hip Hop Business Association, promoting and supporting positive and conscious Native hip hop, Native and Indigenous hip hop. So, how are y'all doing? Hopefully, everybody's doing well. And this is going to be a different kind of a media day since we've had a few of these in a row now. But just to kind of give you the background for it, Rich was off performing tonight, so he was not able to get his wordplay for the day up and going as he would normally have done. So that's why it's just kind of it's me again. So you get to kind of see and check out and hear, all the stuff that's been going on in my neck of the world for it all. So I hold down the fort. He's out gallivanting around and doing all kinds of other kinds of things and whatnot, and getting us into trouble. And but it's and enjoying what it is that he does. So it's fine. It all pays out in the very end. It all comes to the wash. And we had a small phone conversation. He's going to be driving back from where he is very early in the morning, so I knew not to pug him and push him with getting his wordplay for the day. I'm like, usually I would have been like, where is it? I need it now, but today it was just like he's got a lot of stuff on his plate, so just kind of chill out and let him have at it. And we'll be in our meetings later today anyways, so I'll be able to kind of saber rattle at him then, so should be fun. The last podcast was totally exciting. It really kind of helped put a little bit of a cap on the work that we were doing with native reggae. And so if you haven't checked it out, the link is down below, so you can go and do that. And if you're watching this on any of the other social media, you can go follow us on Substack. That's ihhba.substack.com. So you can go there and you can check out all of our stuff, all of our episodes, and everything, all the past work and everything is up there. You can also go to the website, www.ihhba.org, and you'll be able to see things that are up there as well, because all the poster stuff is up there. So good stuff. And yeah, we have some other things that are coming up with the next podcast. So we're going to be talking about and ironing out. We have a few ideas in mind, but we want to see what's going on. And that was a real whirlwind with dealing with Indian reggae. So you got to see my special media today for it. You got to see my tracks for the day. That I put out that was dealing with it. You got to read a couple of the articles that I put out about it. So there was a lot of stuff that was going on with native reggae, for a while. So the capstone being that conversation about it at the podcast was really nice and timely. And then it was funny then because I was thinking, all right, I knew Rich was going to be gone, so I knew not to ask him for his wordplay of the day. So I was like, okay, this kind of puts me back in the driver's seat once again, and I was thinking, what have I been listening to other than native reggae for like the last 2, 3, 4 days? Excuse me. Literally, it's like, non-stop, it seemed like. So it's like, all right, what am I gonna where do I go? What have I been listening to? So today I had to make start the day and at work, that is, not just the regular start of the day, but when I was getting down into hungry, and it's like I'm not listening to native reggae right now. You can tell how tired I am too. I'm not listening to native reggae right now. No, got to put it away for a moment. And so, I was like, all right, I need to clear my ears. So what did I do? None of the other artists were kind of interesting to me. Although Crystal Lighting had some interesting things that she was working on putting out, even though she's working with Bear Grease still, and that whole monument that's coming up and unfolding in front of us. So I was trying to think about, you know, is there anybody else I really want to listen to? And I was like, I just need to kind of like a reboot. I need to kind of get my ears going in the right place again. And so I was like, all right, what and who do I want to listen to? And Blowout and Comb from the Diggable Planets is always kind of nice, to do that. And I'm thinking like way back in my in when I was getting my teeth cut and all this kind of things and whatnot. I was like that's a real nice kind of Blowout Comb is such a great album. So is oh, excuse me. So is Paul's Boutique from the Beastie Boys. This is like way before their License to Ill record and whatnot. And but Paul's Boutique as a complete album is good. And that's kind of rare that you would see where it's like a complete album. Usually there's like specific tracks and whatnot. Um, I did go back and I was looking at at Kool Herc, DJ Kool Herc, and Herculoids, right, as well as African Bambaataa, and the Soul Sonic Force. I was like literally like dipping way back, in there. I gotta say Queen Latifah for the good times when I'm like way down the dumps. Excuse me, her and Left Eye, and I've never been a big Lauryn Hill fan. Just could not get it. Could not do with it. Although the Fugees, I do appreciate. I just when she sings her, when she has her tracks, I'm just like, ugh. It ruins it for me. But I dig the Fugees. We did mention Funk Dubious in the podcast, and I was like, yeah, I can go there. But see, it's like there's like one or two tracks of theirs that I really like. It's not like all of them, and that's kind of the fun part. Although I'm gonna have to do an article and talk about their track where they do the powwow, right? I have to talk about that one at some point, and because I did a whole big thing on it, previously, and they're an Indian band, they're a mestizo band, they're Mexican and Indian, so they're a mixed Indian background, so I gotta bring them up at some point. But their track dedicated, I was like, yeah, that's really good. But again, that's like when I'm like down in the dumps. I'm like really super depressed. I didn't have a good day today. I didn't have good episodes of today. But I mean, it's not Funk Dubious time. It's not like break the glass and like bring it out, or like put me on life support and throw on Queen Latifah's first album. It's not like not that dangerous yet. So I have to kind of save these things. So I went back and I was like, what better thing? What stands out? The Roots. If you know that record, right? And I just I was just like, yep, we're going there. We got to go there. And so I wanted to dig into and kind of look at some of the different things, that they did that I hadn't been listening to in a while. Because, man, before I had to move, my record collection of all of these things, it was classic. And I had to give it all away. I mean, I literally had to give, it was like decades of like records and CDs and tapes and cassettes, 8-track tapes, lots of vinyl. I had to give all of it away. I had a whole garage full, a full garage full of like bookshelves just filled with them and crates filled with records and albums and everything, it was, and the crazy part was I knew where everything was. That was like the weirdest part. It's like, oh yeah, it's over there and that one, but I mean, I had all of these originals like when they were cut, and so Philadelphia Half Life, I go back to, that's a total awesome one for me, which we're gonna get into and talk about. But I wanted to hear something a little bit different because I wanted to drop some other stuff, for you all to kind of showcase what's going on. So I put a selection from the soundtrack to Detroit that the Roots worked on. I put a track in there. It ain't fair, and I have to kind of warn you. When you listen to these guys, just like some of the other ones, the profanity, it creeps up in there and it kind of catches you off guard, because you just get like so into what it is that they're doing and saying, and the grooves are just like so hitting hard, and then you're just like, whoa, there's one. Okay. So I had to kind of give you the explicit language, disclaimer, so you can see that. So that's up there as well. I did that, and then I gave you another selection from a BBC that they did, a live one, and you can't tell that it's live. That's what's awesome about it. You know, I could have put up the anniversary that they did, the 50th anniversary of hip hop. I could have put that concert up, but it was like, is anybody else besides me going to sit around and listen to like 2 hours? Or in that case, it wasn't 2 hours. In that case, it was just like an hour, of like nonstop, live hip hop. Is anybody else besides me gonna do that? You know, and then when I talk about it and the hour's over, you know, it's is there anybody else who would like to do that? It's it's a rhetorical question, but at the same point, it's like, I have to kind of like wonder, um, so if you are, shoot me an email. We got some talking to do. So I did want to drop some tracks though from the get go, from way back when, and I put in a couple of tracks from Philadelphia Half Life, and I'll talk about it on the other side, but the first one we're going to listen to is Respond and React, and I'll point out why this was such a big one for me. So started off a little bit low, and then I'm going to pick. Okay, this track, we could just go on. It's like almost half of the track right there. It's just like classic. And okay, so contextualize this from where I was coming from. I was just a young blood in grad school, and I got dropped into. This is like when hip hop was just getting started as a critical discourse. Okay, and it was like just getting started with the whole thing, and the professors came up and they said, "Congratulations, you're getting to you're going to be working, on this class with and you're going to make it big and huge, and this is going to be big and epic here. And there's only one other school that's doing it. It was UCLA at the time, with Isami Alim, Sami, Professor Alim. Man, what a brain, and what. Okay, anyways, so it was like I'm doing what?" And at that point I was like such a newbie into hip hop, and I'm like, I have to like learn everything there is to know about it in like 2 weeks before the class like starts, and I'm working on it as a team, with two other guys, and so we divide and conquer to get the whole thing going with it and whatnot, and I'm just like, I'm not getting it. It's like I don't understand. I just I really I don't get it. What's the importance of this that we're dealing with? It's like, okay, there's other stuff we could be dealing with that's much more, immersed and solved. I was at that point, I was more interested in like wanting to talk about like avant-garde, classical music or experimental music. I was just like, I don't get it with all this stuff, or rock music. I taught the history of rock like a number of different times. It's just like, what I can I just go back there and like, no, you're staying here and you're doing this. This is what you have to be doing. And when this record came on, there was a cat that I was working with who was a drummer, and we put this on, and he played this, and I was just like, all right, I can get this. And but then I started thinking, I was like, where did they get those samples? Like, those samples are really good. And he's like, dude, that's a live band. I was like, what? Wait a minute. I was like, stop the press. That's a live group. And I was like, yeah. Then I was like, okay, I gotta check this out a little bit deeper. I've not been giving this a fair share. And so that's the one thing I just dig about. It's like you can't tell. I mean, they're so precise. It's so well done, and I just appreciate that about them. But this record really helped me kind of turn the corner on what was my understanding and perspective of what hip hop was supposed to be. And then that opened the door for then a tribe called Quest, that came on. Now, like I said, I'm going way back in like the dark ages here, and it was like the Fugees were just breaking up. Lauren Hill was just going out on her own, and so it's just all these things. Trisha Rose's album, Black Noise was just released. It's like Bell Hooks is like flying all over the place. It's like the discourse is like going great. This is pre Frank Wong, with his books, or Frank Chang. It's like things are like it was just like a rocking time, and this record really helped turn the corner for me. So it was like I have to give my props to the boys, from what they do, and I love listening to what they talk about and everything. And then then came like the great ones, right? Then I started listening to Chuck D, you know. And then I started getting into NWA, and that whole arena and everything, um, and then I got swept up in, like everybody else, in the East Coast West Coast rivalry. Although I was much more of an East Coast sound, perspective. I know I'm from the West, and I should be digging, Tupac. It just took me a really hard time to get in verse around him. Biggie was just like, I get him easily. I totally like get him, and so it was, all these things are coming out. It's just because of this album. This album like really did it. And then I remember when I got my I got my check from school. I can't believe I'm even sharing this. Because I was getting not grant money, not loan money. Although I had to take out a ton of loans. I was getting my pay from the school, and I knew I had enough to cover from the loans and everything I did have to pay my parent bills, which were at that point were like nominal. So I remember taking my entire check from my teaching gigs, and going and blowing it on every album that the Roots had put out, everything I could buy from them. It was just like, yes, just give it to me. I don't care. I want it. And just like staying up on like late on a Friday night, when classes were done, papers were turned in, whatnot like that. I'm getting ready for the next week with a big old huge burrito that I bought from this place that was literally downstairs from where I lived, or around the corner from the other market. Um, and staying up all night long and just listening to these records and studying and listening to what they were doing. That was grad school. It was like that was heaven, you know. A shake and those burritos, and it's just like all night long of listening to this stuff and like reading about it, and really George Nelson's book. It was Nelson George's book, rather. I'm sorry. And then Smitherman and all of her stuff, against Sammy Lean, and just reading Amir Baraka, just checking out like the Watts prophets, just listening. So I had to, and I was like today, I was like my ears need to be cleared out from reggae. Where am I gonna go? I gotta go back there. I gotta go back there. So this is one of the track I want to play, just really kind of short, just to kind of like get us out. Um, and it does have this credibility to it, because it is that awesome of a tune. So this one's going to be "It Just Don't Stop." So I'm waiting for it. I'm prepping because the commercials are on and here, and I don't want to have those commercials going. So as soon as they're finished, we're going to hit it up and get it queued. The second one's almost done. Sorry about that. I knew it was going to happen. And then we're going to go right to it. Okay. Hey, listen to the whole thing all day long. I know the lyrics are controversial, and I know that there was an F bomb that was dropped inside of there, so I'm sorry about that. But it's like it's such a great track. It's such a good album. And even the little sprinklings that they do. They come in. It's just like it's all done live. I just love that. It's just like that because I was an acoustic musician, so to have something that was played live, and dealing with it, and at that time, it was just like it really opened up my ears to what was going on. So I had to share it because now I'm back in the saddle again. So here we go. It's me, it's Alan Chusa, managing editor at the IHHBA, Indigenous Hip Hop Business Association, promoting and supporting positive and conscious Indigenous and Native hip hop. So thank you for checking out my tracks for the day. Um, Blood, Sweat, and Pray every day, no track left unheard. And on a personal note, you can go and check out my new website. I actually left the company that was like extorting money from me and just like doing lots of things that were like not worth it. So I started and built one from scratch on my own. So you can go to alanlechusa.com. My domain name was finally released from an old contract that I had, so I was able to buy it back. So you can go check that out as well. And then don't forget to go to ihhba.org and see all the stuff related to the business. So thank you very much. I'll talk to you all soon. This is fun. Thank you.